I'm so excited to share with everybody that one of my favorite people is here to join us, Kim O'Neill. She is an empowerment coach, an interview confidence coach, and a podcast host of the Every Day is a New Day show, and just an all around amazing human.
And today I'm speaking with the wonderful, amazing Jennifer Spohr.
Oh, thank you. I just love you.
I love you too.
So tell us more about how you got into the work that you're doing today. So how did you get kind of from there to here, and how are you helping others?
Thank you for asking, Jennifer. And thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to be sharing.
Yeah.
So for me, when I think back on how I got to where I am today, it really kind of is in two primary pieces. And the first piece was simply that ever since I was a kid, I did feel some sense of, I really want to help people. I want to make a positive difference. And it was around the time that I was a teenager where I started to notice this pattern of, I'm one of those people. I now know today there are other people who've had this experience. I'm one of those people where, my friends, they tend to come to me with their challenges, and I'm able to help them sort out and navigate whatever's going on with them. And that really sparked an interest and passion within me to, I want to be a marriage family therapist or a counselor or a psychologist or something of that sort, to really be able to help people with their mindset and their perspective and moving forward. Then jump forward, say about 20 years or so, and I was pursuing that professional path and kept bumping up against roadblocks. Finally, I decided to say, okay, how can I go about this a different way? And I started to pursue coaching. Now, here's another little piece of it is there was a good chunk of time right in between, okay, I'm going to pursue the traditional path of doing, becoming a therapist, counselor of that sort. And before I decided to choose coaching, where I was really feeling stuck. So even though I felt a sense of, I know where I'm going, I also felt like things aren't really happening. And so for many years, I had heard people say, the best way to get started is to start doing it for free, to volunteer. And I'd had that in the back of my mind for so long. And I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to get paid for what I love to do. But that was the only thing that kept coming back around. And I finally said, okay, fine. So how can I do this for free? And that's when I started volunteering as a youth mentor. So once I decided to do that, then the coaching stuff started to fall into place, and new avenues and pathways started to open up, new connections of people I was meeting, new ideas, inspirations. So that's it for me in a nutshell. It stemmed from knowing there was something more when I was a kid and being in that space of, okay, what am I going to do next? And it was really about, okay, what's that next thing I know to do? Well, okay, I'll volunteer. Oh, coaching sounds just interesting. And then just following the trail.
I love that, following the trail. That's really what it is, right? It was like that for me too. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a teacher. I played, how some kids play house.
Yeah,
I would play teacher too. And then I ended up being on my own at a younger age. And so life kind of happened, right? I ended up making a really successful career in retail. But a big part of what I did and how I stayed in retail for so long was because of my love of coaching and training and mentoring other people. And then I eventually decided to start my own practice doing it. And so I kind of felt like I came full circle.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. And so today, to actually fully answer your question, what am I doing today, I guess, so is when I was in that space of, coaching, I was so eager to, how can I serve right now? I knew that there was going to be more education and certifications that I wanted to take on, but I was so eager to, how can I just do this now? So I started out with what I really knew a lot about, and that was interviews. So I started out as an interview coach, helping people prepare for employment interviews and seeing success with that, loving every time someone would come back and say, I got the job. I'd been interviewing for a year, 4 months, nothing was shifting. And all of a sudden they get the job. And so really, really loved that. And a couple years into that, then I started shifting into more personal empowerment work, coaching, and also energy healing. And so now it's a combination of empowerment coaching as well as interview confidence coaching that I do, helping my clients make those mindset and energy shifts so they can finally move forward and really feel confident in being who they are. That's what I love to do.
That's really beautiful. And I mean, I love that you take a holistic approach. I believe also that the mind, body, spirit, everything is connected. And I've spoken with so many people that initially come to me, right? Because they need the help with the finding the job. But what a lot of people I feel like overlook is it's like, oh, I need to have the right resume. That needs to be polished. I need to have the right answers to the right questions. But like 80 or 90% of the journey is really in your mindset and how you feel about yourself, right? I always tell people it's like sometimes what you're not saying is saying everything.
I completely agree and relate to what you just said, Jennifer. Yes, that's what I also noticed with the people I was working with is they were very fixated on, oh, what exactly do I need to say? Or what does my resume need to look like specifically? And I certainly have tips and guidelines for that, but it goes so much deeper. It's about what are you believing about yourself? Are you allowing yourself to own that and then showcase that in the time you have allotted for your interview? It really makes a difference.
Yeah, it really does. The work you do is great. I mean, I can't imagine how many people you're helping. It's a big deal out there with people who are searching for jobs. Yeah, it really is. And it's amazing at how long some people are searching for jobs too. I spend a lot of time on the LinkedIn platform, and there are so many open positions out there, yet sometimes recruiters, it's like they're looking for some type of elusive perfect candidate, to fill the role. And
and if you feel like you don't have the right words to really showcase that on your LinkedIn profile or on your resume, then it could seem like you just get glossed over, right? Or someone else may not realize how awesome you are. And so that can be another avenue to feel stuck by or feel like you're not quite hitting the mark. So anyway, so I love the work that you're doing too, because for a long time I was like, I don't think there's any other interview coaches out here. I found like one somewhere, but I know you're doing a lot of great work helping people as well. So I'm so glad that we've connected.
Yeah, me too. So every experience, right, that we have in our lives shapes who we've become. So what is a significant experience for you that you would say has really played a big role in shaping who you become today?
I think that is such a great question. There are so many experiences and for all of us. And when I look back at my own life, I really go to one that, again, stemmed from when I was a kid, but has certainly played a role as I've gotten older. And that was the relationship that I had with my dad and the challenges that we experienced. There was so much love there, and yet essentially he was an absent father. And so I think the combination of those two made it really challenging to deal with, right? It's easy to just, if someone's not there and you don't actually feel a connection to them, okay, it's not a big deal. But when you do and you don't get to spend time with that person, it can be really challenging. So for me, that was a big deal. And there was a whole slew of inner work that it required for me to heal and learn about myself and move through, but also learning how to forgive and, learning that, okay, while I'm forgiving him, it's also all for me. And then the whole thing about, when he died, which was very unexpected for me several years ago, I completely shifted my beliefs around death and how I see us as more than just these humans living in this, time and space reality. So there's so much that has come out of my relationship with my dad and continues to evolve and unfold because I love the gift of the challenges that I've received from that relationship. And it all had to do with me not wanting to ever give up and not wanting to leave something unsettled. So anyway, that could be a much deeper conversation, and I'll just leave it there for now. But that's what stands out for me.
Oh, yeah. your relationship with your dad sounds like it was, I mean, precious, right? In the way of he was such a big teacher for you. But that's what all of our relationships are, right?
Yeah. And that sums it up so perfectly, Jennifer. Yes, he's been one of my biggest teachers. And back when I was a kid in my 20s, really going through a lot of the emotions and the frustration and all of that, it wasn't so easy to see that. But because I was so committed to, no, we're going to figure this out. We're going to resolve this. We're going to heal this. And to me, it didn't matter that he had already passed on. To me, it's like, no, we're going to continue what we started. It's whatever your intention is. It doesn't matter, these perceived barriers of, oh, someone's not alive. No, it doesn't matter. You can still work through and repair a relationship. And I know firsthand that's exactly what I've been able to do with my dad. It's been a huge learning experience for me, and I am truly grateful for it.
I'd love to talk about that a little bit more, if you don't mind, because
Sure.
Two things. One, of what you said about forgiveness is really key, right? And that it isn't about necessarily condoning the other party's actions. It's more about giving ourselves the inner peace, right? And our ability to process what we've been through and to be able to actually move on, because otherwise, we're just putting a Band-Aid on something that needs surgery, which I love to say that. I say a lot, but it's the truth. And then, I mean, what I'm intrigued by this, what drove you to go back and revisit that after your dad had already passed?
So what had happened is, for many years, we hadn't been in contact. And before, I would say it was about 2 months before he passed. He wasn't ill, so we didn't see him, see that coming. About 2 months before he passed, we were starting to rebuild a connection and heal our relationship. And it was kind of touch and go, hit and miss. So even just in that 2 month time period, it was like, oh, like, come on, we're trying to repair this and not quite getting there. And then literally the 2 weeks before he died, that's when things started to click into place. And he was starting to say things that acknowledged his understanding of, my experience as a kid and him not being there. And he shared a little bit about what he'd been going through. And it was just like, whoa, I never thought I was going to hear any of this stuff, So that was really nice. And then he made an effort to spend some more time with me within this 2 week period. And it was on a Sunday. He took me out to get some groceries. I was in my early 20s. And he said, okay, I'm going to take you to get some groceries. And I could tell something was off with him, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. And, we ended our visit. He went home. The next morning, around 5 a.m. or so, my aunt calls me and told me that he passed. He died. And it was like, what? Are you kidding me? Because one of the things that he had said within that 2 week time frame was, I'm going to now be there for my kids. I'm not going to let my kids go without. He was making these new promises that I was allowing myself to believe again. And I thought, are you kidding me? And now you die? That's the ultimate broken promise. And I said that I was fed up. I was fed up with the broken promises. I was fed up with not getting to follow through on our relationship and really deepen that connection. And so I was so furious and had so much anger and frustration in me. If I didn't change, if I didn't do something, I was going to spontaneously combust. So I had to say, okay, it doesn't matter that you're dead. We're still going to work on this. We're still fixing our relationship. So that was the start to me shifting my beliefs around death, because I don't think I'd ever thought anything such, like that prior to that situation, that, oh, I could still talk to someone after they're dead. It never really occurred to me. But I decided in that moment, that's it. We're doing this. I need this for me. And I think you can agree that, that he can agree that this would be very helpful for me. So I just started talking to him, and I would tell him everything. I would tell him, the frustrations, the sadness, the hurt, the anger. But I would also tell him the good things. And I would I just started sharing everything with him. And I started noticing, I hope this isn't too much for your audience or.
No, not at all. I mean, just feel free to be you, right? I believe that our souls are eternal, right? So what you're saying about your dad and your desire to reconcile the relationship even after he passed, I mean, he's watching over you. He's hearing what you say, even though, you might not be hearing what he's saying, you know what I mean? But it's important. Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that. I completely agree. And so I just continued to communicate with him, and I didn't put any restrictions on what I was, on what I wanted to say, because I needed to get it out. So I was doing that regularly, and I started noticing signs that he was around, that he was hearing me. And I used to get pennies all the time. And then just some other odd things would happen, and I knew that, that was him. So it was really nice to have those moments, and then also start to have the moments where I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling as upset about this anymore. I am feeling some of the healing start to take place, and it continued, over years. And I'm just so grateful for it, because another, I'll just say this briefly, another one of the lessons that came out of this for me is learning the value of my emotions. Because when I was a kid, I unknowingly developed a habit of not really allowing myself to feel and experience a lot of stuff. And I do think that a part of that came from, he was in the Marines, and my maiden last name resembled, is a synonym for being really strong. And so I used to say, no, my dad's in the Marines, I'm really strong. And so I wouldn't allow myself to be too overcome by certain emotions. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter if you ignore them. If you've got them, they're doing something to you inside. So part of this whole journey was the undoing of that, and unlearning of, oh, no, we don't hide our emotions. We don't block them and stuff them, down. There may be certain times and places for that, right? Certain contexts, but you want to be sure to be honoring what's going on with you at some point, and sooner than later too. So that was a huge lesson that came out of this for me. That for me, I link back to my dad and our relationship.
So many of us, I mean, myself included, and certainly just about every client I've ever worked with, there's something that we pick up from our childhood, or from society, that it isn't okay to be vulnerable, that it isn't okay to show our emotions. And what you said is really, really important, because they don't just go away. If we suppress them, that is affecting us on an energetic level, but it also manifests itself in so many different ways into our adulthood, and lots of people live their entire lives without recognizing, and even beyond recognizing, being able to interrupt that pattern, and to heal from it. So
I think there's a lot of fear around it, of what might happen to me if I do allow myself to feel that. And I don't necessarily think that that's even a conscious, that people are conscious that may be what's behind it. But I think once we can have that awareness, and then start to realize, oh no, I'm actually okay. Everything will be okay. And what if I strengthen my support system? And, there's like so much more we can do to allow ourselves, no matter how much time has passed, to say, okay, I'm going to allow myself to finally process this and release it, because I owe it to myself. I deserve to be happy and free of this lower.
Exactly.
We
all deserve to be happy and fulfilled and free, and to live intentionally with a sense of purpose. What makes our journey more difficult is us. Honestly, it's our own fear, our own doubt, based upon our own perception of what is right or wrong, what is or isn't possible. Anyway, I could get into like a 6-hour conversation about that, because that's my zone of genius, but
I hear you.
So tell us, what would be the number one tip that you would have for someone who is feeling called to do more, and they want to take the leap, but they maybe haven't quite got there yet?
I love this question. The answer is simple, but maybe not easy, but it can be. So the answer is simply do it. So whatever you're feeling called to do, do it. Do that one thing that's coming to mind for you right now. So when I mentioned earlier, for so long, the only thing I could think of is, oh, I guess I need to volunteer, you know, and all I could think for me, youth mentoring was how I wanted to volunteer. That was the one thing I could think of doing. And it was the one thing that actually helped me open up doorways and pathways to other, you know, to everything else that I was looking for. So whatever that one thing is right now that you're thinking, you know, I don't know what to do, or I have this one idea, but that doesn't make any sense. Why don't you just try it? We don't need to bet the farm on it, but why not just try it and see what else might come from it? Or if there's one person you know who is doing what you like to do, or who might know someone else who's doing what you like to do, or maybe you simply just know someone who'd be open to even hearing you talk about what you'd like to do. Like whatever that next thing is, it doesn't have to be knowing exactly how to put all of it into action right now in this moment. It can be that simple thing that you might be overlooking and avoiding right now in this moment. Do that. Because
baby steps.
Yes.
This is so synchronistic that we're having this conversation, because I literally just shared a video today where there was a part of the post where I said, you know, Nike said it best, just do it. Right. I put that in there. And it's so important what you're saying, because it's all about baby steps, right? So many people get overwhelmed and then they get paralysis by analysis. So they do nothing because they think it has to be, you know, all or nothing, 0 to 60, but it doesn't. It's just little baby steps forward every day. And then over time that adds up.
Totally. And I think a lot of times it can be easy for us to place judgment on, oh, but no, that doesn't really make sense. Like that's not what so-and-so did, or so-and-so, you know, we look at other people and we think that our potential next step, well, that can't be the right next step because like no one else did it that way. But it's not about anybody else. We all have our own next step that appears to us because it's right for us. So I know for a long time that was something that I was doing too, is devaluing the insights or next steps that were showing up for me because, oh, that doesn't seem like it's really anything. But it is. You have to believe and take action on it. So, and I know you know a lot about this, and personally, I know.
I'm all, oh yes.
But I honestly love that you're doing these videos, because this is also something that helped me a long time ago as well. Learning about other people's journeys and what next steps did they take, and discovering we're all going to do it a little differently. It's not about doing it the same way, but you can pick up clues about like, oh, this person got a nudge to do that and they did it. And then that person got an insight to do this other thing and it worked for them. And it's about allowing it to unfold for you.
So if someone wanted to find you, where can they connect with you at?
So there are many places. They can find me on KimO'NeillCoaching.com, and O'Neill is Oneill. So KimO'NeillCoaching.com. They can also find me on Facebook at Kim O'Neill Coaching, the Every Day is a New Day show and coaching page. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter, and of course here on LinkedIn as well. So I'm in many places, and I look forward to connecting with anybody that's finding resonance with our conversation today. I love being able to be able to help people to connect with their next step.
Absolutely. And I am looking forward to sharing you with everybody. I loved our conversation today.
I did too, Jennifer. Thank you so much for this space to do this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.